my legs just like a queer, but my libido is strong when a lady is near. Yeah, oh, what defines a straight man straight? Is it the boxer in the brief or a 12-ounce steak? Nah, I tell you what, a woman loves most. It's a man who can slap but can also stroke.
Going in the wind as an empty of the tree that is naked. It's verbatim and it's shaking.
Well boys, it looks like it's actually happening. It looks like the fight between KSI and Tommy Fury will actually be going down next on October 14th this year. And also, I don't know how people came to this conclusion, but also Logan Paul versus Dildo Danis will most likely be co-main event. If what I'm hearing about this fight is true, then it looks like it'll be taking place in Manchester Arena in October, which is kinda mental. This fight between KSI and Tommy Fury is going to be huge, especially with it taking place in the UK, selling out Manchester Arena. It would make more pay-per-view buys than most traditional boxing cards this year. And I know boxing fans are going to scoff at that statement, but it's true. Two big names in the UK at the moment with big egos and a huge storyline behind them. If they were to get this fight on, it would be massive. Possibly even bigger than Jake versus Tommy, but I'm really not sure yet. But through all the hype, I have a few concerns on it. And I can't help from thinking that this is a very bad idea for KSI. Let me explain why. If we go back and watch Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, Tommy absolutely smoked Jake. Sure, it was competitive at points and it went to a split decision, but there's no denying that Tommy absolutely schooled Jake in terms of boxing ability that night. He didn't absolutely destroy him. Jake didn't look bad in that fight by any means, but he was clearly the superior boxer to Jake, and that's what makes me worry for KSI. And now that KSI versus Tommy is happening, why do I think it's a bad idea? Tommy is much younger, far more experienced, a lot bigger, has a massive reach advantage, and much more talented than KSI, making KSI without a doubt a huge underdog in almost every aspect. KSI has shown in the past that he can deal with a bigger fighter with a reach advantage when he fought Logan Paul back in 2019, but that was when he was a completely different fighter. It really pains me to say this, but it's really hard for me to imagine that KSI could beat Tommy. I don't even think KSI is on Jake's level yet. And look at what Tommy did to Jake. And this is coming from someone who is a big fan of KSI and thinks he's a lot better at boxing than most people give him credit for. I do not believe that the ability level of the opponents KSI has faced since his return in August last year has been enough to prepare him for someone like Tommy Fury. KSI's last few fights were against FaZe Temper and Joe Fournier, who are decent fighters, but it's clear that they're nowhere near his level. And I'm not saying Tommy Fury has had great opposition in his career either, because he's definitely not, but he was facing against traditional boxers better than KSI's recent opposition. It would be a massive step up in opposition, whereas the fights Jake had before he fought Tommy were a much more gradual progression with opponents like Anderson Silva and Tyron Woodley, who are much better equipped than the people that JJ has recently faced. Tommy would without a doubt be KSI's toughest matchup in his entire career. The last real test KSI had was when he fought Logan Paul way back in 2019, and that was also the last time that KSI went past the third round in a fight. Well, KSI's style is something that I'm not exactly sure how Tommy is going to deal with. If you watch some of Tommy Fury's previous fights, you can see he sometimes struggles with people with very unorthodox and wild fighting styles. Tommy has been used to fighting very strict conventional boxers since he was like 6 years old, so putting him up against someone who doesn't fight like a traditional boxer could perhaps throw him off. If KSI wants to beat Tommy, he has to destroy his confidence early. From the rip, he needs to be applying pressure, use his unorthodox style to his advantage and win the early rounds. We need to see a much improved KSI, not just skill wise but in defense, IQ, style and so on. And I mean a much improved KSI. As much as the style he used in his last few fights worked well against slow Joe Fournier, I just see Tommy Fury breezing past that. We need to see a next level KSI in the ring if he wants to win this fight. KSI just has this incorruptible mentality where he just does whatever it takes to win no matter what. The only advantage I give him is his mindset, and if he can somehow use that against Tommy and beat him, it would be insane. If it was up to me, I would recommend KSI takes one more fight before stepping in with Tommy. Just one more fight. And who would he fight? Well, I think a fight between him and Tyron Woodley would be great. There's been a lot of talk between them over the last year. And fuck it, a fight between him and Gib would be such an entertaining fight too. Not only would that be one of the most exciting and entertaining fights ever in YouTube boxing, but it would be a much better transition to Tommy. But honestly, I would much rather see him versus Jake Paul at the end of the year instead of Tommy. That to me and many others is the fight in this scene. that we've been wanting to see for years now. It would without a doubt be bigger than Tommy because KSI and Jake have this genuine hatred for each other, and they would give their all in the build-up to get inside each other's heads.
I mean, at the end of the day, no disrespect, but, you know, Vidal's fighting in, you know, he's fighting a lot lower than me, you know. Say what you want about opposition, but I'm fighting at a world championship level.
Ain't no way Tommy's acting like he's some huge pay-per-view draw after one successful event with Jake Paul, when he wasn't even the main draw. Before Jake Paul, Tommy was a nobody. In his last fight before Jake Paul, he was co-main event to Deji. And in his fight before that, he was on his Big Bros undercard, and still only a tenth of the whole arena was watching. You ain't that guy, Tommy, trust me. Not a single soul would give a flying fuck about you, Tommy, if your brother wasn't Tyson Fury and your girlfriend wasn't Molly May. Mate, his girlfriend has more followers than him, for fuck's sake. I will be scared for Tommy's life if he ever decides to step in the ring with someone half as skilled as Vidal Riley. And I might as well share my thoughts on Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz taking place next month. You know, some of Nate's training footage has come out and it's not looking great. His striking just isn't at the level I think it should be at. So I'm going to say it, I think Jake's winning this inside 4 rounds. I think it's going to be an absolute cakewalk for him. So I have Jake Paul knocking out Nate Diaz in round 4. But anyway, I'm excited for KSI versus Tommy Fury regardless of who I think will win. And that's my thoughts on the whole thing going on. If you enjoyed this video, I would really much appreciate if you could like the video and subscribe for more content like this one. Thank you everyone for watching.